You're listening to the Platte River Bard.
This time on the Platte River Bard, we speak with Rafael Untalan. Rafael is an actor, director, and assistant professor of practice in acting at the Carson School of Theatre and Film. He is also the director of Sense and Sensibility at the Nebraska Repertory Theatre that runs from September 28th to October 7th. For tickets, go to nebraskarep.org. And now, on to our talk with Rafael. Hello, and welcome to the Platte River Bard. This is Chris Berger.
And I'm Sherry Berger.
And we are here today with Rafael Untalan. He is the assistant professor of practice in acting over there in Lincoln at the university. And he is also the director of the upcoming play, Sense and Sensibility. It's a newer adaptation, and we're going to ask him about it and about the whole play and maybe a little bit about what he does there, because he is a professor.
At the Nebraska Repertory Theatre.
Exactly, and this is all happening at the Nebraska
Carson.
Repertory Theatre, but he is an assistant professor and practice in acting at the Carson School of Theatre and Film. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
It's all true.
It's all true. The vicious rumors are
Welcome.
true. Thank you for joining us, sir. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So you've been working hard on sensibility.
Yes. So hard. So hard. So many hours. I live in this 1 block radius.
Yes.
It seems to me.
It's
right.
Yes, it's that
Yeah.
time.
It's that time of the process, right? We're knee deep in tech.
Are you? Yeah.
And yeah.
And how long have you been at Nebraska Rep and university?
I got here, gosh, let's see. I interviewed, it's so crazy. I interviewed for the job in February. Well, no, wait. I got interviewed for the job in 2019, like December of 2019.
Okay.
And I meditated on it over the course of the holidays with my wife. And then in January, we thought, okay, let's do this. And in February, I came out to Lincoln. February 2020, came out to Lincoln to go, all right, let me investigate this new area. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and all hell broke loose.
Yes.
So I moved my family, my wife and 2 kids, in June of 2020, in the thick of the pandemic. So it was a nutty time to move. So, a long story short, this is the beginning of my 4th year of teaching at UNL. Yeah, and this is the first full production that I'm directing here.
Oh, nice.
At Nebraska Rep.
Because you've directed all over. Looking at your bio, you've been able to be all over the United States doing things.
Well, I mean, I'm principally an actor.
Yes.
And that's been the foundation of my career. So, yeah, I mean, as a consequence of that, one of the things I love about being a regional theater actor is that you get to see so much of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, find new homes and new communities all over.
For sure. Because you've been, to sit here and list all this is going to take a while. Dude, you've been all over the country doing acting in regional theater and other theaters as well as a professional actor. Now, I saw that you, the Very Hungry Caterpillar that you directed.
Yeah, the Very Hungry Caterpillar show. Yeah.
Yes, it was up for a Helen Hayes Award. Has that happened yet?
Oh, yes, that happened right before the pandemic.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What a fun show.
Oh, yes.
It was a wonderful show.
Very Hungry Caterpillar.
Puppets galore.
Yeah, see.
Puppets galore, and they're bringing it back at Imagination Stage. This is the Imagination Stage, which is in Rockville. Was it? No, it's Bethesda, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C.
Oh, yes, Bethesda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I love puppet theater. I enjoy it.
Yes, he does.
All different
Really,
varieties and stuff. I really am just
love it.
completely fascinated by it.
But
So many puppets.
there are no puppets in Sense and Sensibility.
She
I was
keeps
on a
taking
Jane
her own
Austen
story.
thought
Aren't
process.
there? Are you sure there aren't any puppets?
See?
Are you sure?
We are
There
talking
might
to the
be.
director here.
There might be puppets. I'm
That
just
would be
saying.
cool.
Who knows?
Right.
One of the sisters is now a puppet. That's just gonna,
Well,
and nobody makes
there's
reference to it. It just is.
I'll let you wonder. You just have to come and find out.
That's right.
Eleanor or Marianne are puppets.
That's right. One of them.
I opened
We
Pandora's
don't know.
box, and
It's
this
just
is
one
what
of those
happened.
things. It was a choice he made.
Sorry.
I don't think I've seen a version of this. I think there's a movie out there of it, maybe, but I don't think I've seen that one.
Of Sensibility?
Yeah, this version, or
no. I mean, you can Google it on you or go to YouTube and look. And you'll see various clips of various productions. But I want to say it was 2016. Is that right? It might have been earlier than that.
Okay,
I know that this is Kate Hamill's first adaptation of a Jane Austen, and then she did Pride and Prejudice after that.
Okay.
But I guess what do I want to say? I was just telling this story earlier because somebody asked me why Jane Austen, why Sense and Sensibility, and I saw the 95 or 96 version of Sense and Sensibility. Ang Lee was the director.
Yes.
And it was Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet and Alan Rickman, among others, were in this production. And I had no interest at all in Jane Austen. But my girlfriend, was classic. She dragged me to this. You're going to love this. Okay, fine. I'll go see this sappy romance. And then I went. I always remember holding the tub of popcorn, and I started eating, you start eating in previews because we didn't have all those previews back then. But anyway,
yes.
Right.
I just became enthralled.
Yeah.
With the beauty and the sensitivity and the simplicity of the story. I always love stories which are, what at the root of it is, the heart wants what the heart wants.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And in this society and Regency era England, there are hard social norms and very strict rules of decorum and comportment, and the sense of class is baked into their culture, and that's reflected in Jane Austen's work and faithfully reflected in Kate Hamill's adaptation of it. And I'm always interested in stories of how does the heart deal with that? Mm-hmm. How does love survive in the face of these social constraints? And additionally, I'm often drawn to stories in which a parent dies. And I guess that's because my dad died when I was 3 years old. And so I'm often
Sorry to hear that.
kind of intrigued by those stories. What does the family do in the face of loss? And how do they carry on in the face of loss? Yeah. And in this case, it's, there's always a softening and a vulnerability that comes with loss. And it tends to open us up to love, which is what happens with the Dashwood sisters. And yes. I think so kind of beautifully, very distinctly drawn different characters. This very reasonable, practical, restrained Eleanor, the sense of Sense and Sensibility, and then the passionate, emotional, defiant sensibility of Marianne, and how those two sisters who are bound up in this relationship of complete of unconditional love, how do they deal with how do they pursue their heart's desires in the face of their social constraints and in the face of the loss of their father? And I don't know, for whatever reason I'm drawn to those stories, and I think sometimes it's because they're so far away, kind of culturally, that it becomes I don't know, an easier entry point. It's a different world.
Yeah,
it's a different world.
You can sort of very much keep yourself outside of it and look at it from the outside in, and kind of go, well, what is this exactly?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Without
why can't they
so personal? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
and I find that to be a bit of it's a relief. Yeah,
it is.
You kind of give them permission to lean in.
For sure. Was there something is there something in particular that you really enjoy about Hamill's adaptation? Is it just sort of updated language, or is there just
well, a lot of the language is updated, and then quite conversely, a lot of it isn't. So it's this wonderful interplay or dialogue between a kind of more modernized take on the dialogue, and then suddenly you'll get pure Austen.
nice?
And so it's this really beautifully interwoven kind of different colors, different cultures interacting with each other on the page. I'm not sure how to explain it, but the language is very contemporary and very accessible.
Right.
And I think that's a big a triumph of this particular adaptation. And
Yeah.
she also did Pride and Prejudice as well. How do you take this very dense,
Yeah.
extremely wordy, kind of labyrinth of a romance and condense it for the stage? And in Kate Hamill's case, what she's done is she's used this kind of narrative framing device. It's these chorus of gossips who are kind of they're gossips. So they're all hanging out and gossiping about everything that's going on.
Yeah, because that was a big thing at that
It's still a
time.
thing.
Was
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
gossip could just ruin you. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's what she's done is it's kind of like a Greek chorus
That's awesome.
of characters, and in our version of it, these characters are simply delineated by holding a fan. So they'll hold the fan up to their face, and then
Oh yeah, yeah.
they'll bring it down to speak, and they'll hold it back up again. So the audience gets the sense of, your question was, what was it about this particular adaptation? And the thing about this particular adaptation that I love as a framing device are this Greek chorus of gossips.
Yeah.
And how they comment continually on society. And they're not necessarily malevolent. They're not nice, but they're not necessarily malevolent either. They're just having a good time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
they are like remoras on the shark of English society, and anytime there's a little morsel of flesh and blood, they eat that up.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I love about this particular adaptation.
So this is, for someone who doesn't know, this is still set in the 1800s.
Yep.
And it's true Jane Austen, only with updated language. And it sounds like when I had read some of the articles about Kate and writing this, is that she wanted to create really good opportunities for female actors.
Yes.
So is that any different than what you've seen before when you've seen this as a play? Or is it about the same amount of women, the same amount of,
I if I remember a conversation that Kate Hamill had about this, and then Kate Hamill is an actor, a very successful actor who's classically trained and a lover of Shakespeare, for example.
Yeah.
And she had felt that I love these plays, but I want more roles for me.
yeah.
And
Fair enough.
what are the stories that I can mine and that I'm interested in that can create more roles for actors like me, for women.
Right.
And so true to that, the dominant roles in this are Sense, Eleanor, and Sensibility, Marianne.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's just a way for her to be able to kind of revive the classics and make it more a little bit more palpable for modern audiences, so that it continues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Make it
And it's
approachable for
a
younger
real
folks.
wonderful way of kind of bridging the gap.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
It makes it more approachable, especially for younger
Yeah.
folks or for people who may not be regular theater goers, but they recognize the title. Oh, Sensibility. They've heard of that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's been one of your biggest challenges that you've had in this production?
Yes. Has there been or is it still too much ongoing?
Locations.
Location.
Yes. The play is episodic, and there are 40. I think my scenic designer said there are 47 different locations.
Oh,
Are
wow.
there really that many?
So you're
Yeah.
using a lot of lights then for your
Well,
set.
yes, exactly. Lights and scenic elements to differentiate place to place. And after a while, I think I made the directorial decision that most American audiences or most audiences here aren't going to really care about the difference between Norland Park and Barton Park and Devonshire. It's just what they need to know is that they're in a different place now.
Okay.
Right.
And that place has certain resonances for each character. So, for example, when the Dashwood family, when the patriarch Mr. Dashwood passes away, the mom, Mrs. Dashwood, and the daughters, Eleanor, Marianne, and Margaret, are forced to move out of their home because of inheritance laws.
Okay.
So Mr. Dashwood had a son from a previous marriage, and because women couldn't inherit, all his estate went to his son from the previous marriage. And so his wife, Mrs. Dashwood, is left with nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't
And
that
so what do they do? Well, they end up having to move to a cousin's spare cottage on his property, which is in Devonshire, which is, I can't remember the exact distance, but it's a long way away from where they were.
Right.
And so they have to take a journey to this new place, this new environment, this new culture. And the most important thing to me wasn't necessarily that where they were moving to in Devonshire, but that they were moving to something that was unfamiliar to them,
Okay.
something that was a smaller, something that was an alien kind of environment, friendly but still new to them.
But different, yeah.
So what are the challenges? The locations.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sounds
Locations.
holy cow.
Yeah.
47.
It's quite a bit.
That's insane. That is insane.
So yeah, I know 47. So I thought, do I have somebody hold up a placard and say, and now we're in Cleveland.
I know.
And now we're, yeah.
I can't imagine trying to tackle that.
So really it became less about that and more about now we're in a new place.
It's just, okay.
And now we're back in that place that we just were a couple of scenes ago.
Okay.
That the scenic elements and the lighting help us identify that we're in a different environment.
Wow.
Okay.
And it's
Fascinating.
more about the relationships than,
Absolutely.
kind of hewing to that as opposed to the locations. Because at first I went down the path of investigating whether or not I could do that. And I think that after a while, unless it's an English audience, you're not going to, all these place names are going to wash over you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. For sure.
Interesting that
So.
she did keep all of that in the adaptation. She didn't make
Yeah.
any changes to it.
Well, yeah.
So in some ways it's kind of it's so, the scenes are quite short. That's another challenge. So they rise and fall quickly, but they're extremely comprehensible. And at the heart of all this is a romantic comedy.
Right.
Yeah.
A kind of prototypical romantic comedy.
Well, and I bet the costumes are just amazing.
Yeah, we just got them. I'd love to see all of them. We just got them this weekend, so we're almost there. But yeah, some pure straight ahead Regency era costumes.
Wow. I love those.
Yeah.
I
me
mean,
too.
I like a whole, and your season is kind of that way. It's kind of a gamut of new and old, and I like that. I like to be able to see
me
that.
too.
Because it's really hard to get to theater, especially if you're in theater. It's hard to get to theater, and you want to see everything and say, "Oh yeah, I saw that." But I was just thinking about that today. No one can expect that everyone has seen everything. I mean, I suppose there are people out there that can, but it's really difficult to do unless you just are just made of money and you can go to theater every day.
Yeah.
So,
But if you're working in the theater and you're not on one production, you can't see the other.
I know.
There are a couple of productions that are happening right now that I just won't be able to see.
yeah.
I know.
J.D. Madsen, for example, is a scenic designer on faculty, and he directed Young Frankenstein,
Oh,
Oh
yes.
gosh, now I'm going to forget the location. Sorry, JD, if you're listening to this. I'm sorry.
Was that
That was in
Nebraska
Hickman.
Communities?
Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that just closed, and I was busy rehearsing. So yeah,
I
that's
know
what-
we were
that's-
busy too.
That's what happens.
We had a friend in there as well, and we kept meaning to get there, and
Yes.
it just didn't happen. I know, and
Well-
unless your friends are in your production, it seems like you never get to see it.
That's what happens when you have rehearsal 6 nights a week
I
and
know.
work 5
Yes.
days a week.
There you
So
go.
true. So true.
Yeah, but I love this because you really are giving your season patrons an opportunity to see just a lot of different kinds of things. So
Yeah,
I enjoy
I'm
that.
super excited about the season. I think it's I can't take credit for it. It was a kind of a group effort, but
Yeah.
I think it's very eclectic and fun
Yeah.
and challenging in different ways.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with a group effort. I think sometimes it's good to
No.
have all those different perspectives.
Now, as far as your being an assistant professor of practice and acting, what kind of classes do you have? Practice and acting. Is it just straight up acting classes, or
Yeah, I teach the wide range of acting classes. So in
Okay.
my time here, I've taught acting for non-majors, but I've also taught audition techniques and professional prep for students who are seeking to leave this and go to a bigger market, leave Lincoln, go to a bigger market, and
Sure.
ply their craft as actors and try to eke out some dollars out of this thing.
yeah?
So there's that. I teach acting Shakespeare. I teach styles. So because I like to make sure that the students have a kind of a broad-based theatrical education, and styles is one way to incorporate that. So in the styles class, I'll teach a unit on Anton Chekhov, but also teach a unit on Greek chorus, and I teach a unit on Moliere as well,
yeah.
because I love the challenge of. It's kind of a
That would be fascinating.
interestingly that world of the kind of the foundation of situational comedy is there with Moliere, and then there's a line that you can draw from that era of French theater to the Restoration in England, and then what evolves out of that. At one of those branches are these culturally is the Regency era, not just dramas but novels like Jane Austen. So there's linkages everywhere.
Wow.
Incredible. One of the things I always
would
loved
enjoy
about
that.
Moliere was that some of his stuff comes off. I always wonder why he hasn't done more, because so much of his stuff to me comes off as almost like sitcom style stuff, and I just don't know why it's not more popular. It's like, God,
Yeah, because it
we
really
love that
is
stuff.
like
It's
situational
great.
comedy.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
situational
good.
comedy. I think Moliere is like even in translation in English. I have no idea. I don't speak French, so I couldn't speak to that. But he's so funny in English.
Yes, he is. At college.
I think the super useful thing about it
Yeah.
is that there are each society has rules for survival. And as an actor, you have to know what are the best questions to ask when you're doing a play of a different culture.
Yeah.
And some of those are, what do I need to do to survive? What does the character do to survive in this culture?
Yeah.
How is it different from ours?
Right.
And then just because you're an actor, you got to embrace that and go, okay, it's like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
this now. Yeah.
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 And no, I find that fascinating, especially when you get to consult with people who really know about it, because a lot of times you don't even know what questions to ask sometimes. And so it's kind of fascinating getting into new stuff, and because at first some of this stuff I'm not even sure. Some stuff I get into, I'm not even sure what questions to ask yet until you actually get into it. And then you're like, okay,
Right.
now I know what questions to ask. Now I know, okay, I got a better idea of what I should be thinking about.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, that's what essentially that's what styles training is. It's, I'm in a different world. What are the rules? What are the rules of this world?
Yeah.
And how does my character navigate to survive in this world?
And I noticed in
Fascinating.
your bio that you have taught a lot of classical acting as well. So
Yes.
that's probably one of the reasons that you wanted to direct this play.
Yeah, I suppose it. I suppose it is. I kind of. I don't know why it's the case, but I guess I'm a bit of an Anglophile.
That's all right.
But yeah. But what do I want to say? For me, early in my career, I mean, I guess I'll say that I've always been interested in language-rich plays,
For sure.
in which the world of the play is fashioned by the text, and as a consequence, I'm kind of a natural Shakespearean, and
Yes.
So by proclivity and passion as well as by training, I'll always remember being. I was 16 years old and I was living in Australia because my mom married an Australian. And I was in English class and everybody was making fun of me because of my American accent.
Oh.
And we started reading The Merchant of Venice. And the opening lines of The Merchant of Venice are something like, "In sooth, I know not why I am so sad. It wearies me." And when I read that as a 16-year-old alone and feeling lonely and kind of depressed in my teen angst, it just hit me like a sledgehammer. And I think ever since then I've been a Shakespearean.
Oh, wow.
And so as a consequence, worlds which are related to that, worlds like the English Regency period, are somehow attractive to me, even though I don't have personally anything to do with them.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well,
Here we are in our American selves, and why are we so interested in this stuff?
I know.
Well,
It's fascinating.
A good.
Did you ever get a chance to do The Merchant of Venice?
No, I haven't yet.
Because you've done a lot of Shakespeare.
Yeah, but I haven't done Merchant.
Hasn't done Merchant. Okay.
No.
The one that sort of sets you off. You haven't been able to.
Yeah,
We need to get back to that.
That's
I
on
know. It'd be nice.
It's on the goal list.
Yes.
Probably.
It's out there. I spent the last couple summers at the Illinois Shakespeare Festival.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
I've added some of those plays to my list, so that's been
Right.
lovely. That relationship has worked out.
For sure.
That's what a person needs to do. Is go to festivals so they can get a little bit of everything like that. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. What's Merchant of Venice aside? What's a Shakespeare play you haven't done yet that you would very much like to do? You're just waiting for somebody to go, "Oh, please do this. I want to go audition for this one."
Well, I just did The Tempest.
Ooh.
I'd love to do The Winter's Tale again. I haven't done. I guess I can say it here because I'm not in a theater. Macbeth, a full production of Macbeth in almost 20 years, so I really want to do that.
Oh,
again.
nice. That'd be cool.
I mean, you name it. I've never been in Titus Andronicus.
Ooh.
I'd love to do something that wild and
That is
bloodthirsty.
insane. Yes.
And here's a big one. I've never been in Julius Caesar.
That's my favorite one.
And I've never been in it. It drives me nuts. Oh, here's another one. I should add this to the list. So I've done a lot of scenes from these plays, but I've never been in a full production of Hamlet, for example.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, I presume that I will end up directing it before I am in it.
Before you're in it, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, there's a long list.
What about Jane Austen? Is there anything else that you'd like to direct of hers?
I mean, Pride and Prejudice.
With puppets.
No. Actually, the weird thing is I'm not a puppet guy. But I've ended up, I directed the Very Hungry Caterpillar show, and puppets appear elsewhere.
I love it. Yeah, that would be a good one as well. And
That'd be fun.
The more you learn about Jane Austen, I think I know more about Jane Austen herself than her actual books and plays and movies as such.
Fascinating person.
Very. Very.
sure.
And it would really suck to be a woman in her time. I just want
Right?
to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Officially.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is so wonderful about some of her stories is that they give a voice to these women and to their lives. I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah, and
cultural present.
And it's nice that they continually are getting updated and sort of represented to new generations to sort of latch onto, because they are such good stories.
Yeah, if she could only see, what her work ended up doing. I always feel
How many
bad
young
for
women has she influenced over the
artists
years?
that don't
Good
get
Lord.
to see how they influenced, the ages to come. And if she were a man, she may have made a lot more money, and she would have been in a lot better financial situation at the end.
Yeah, maybe.
So, women power. Let's tell the stories
There
of
we
Jane
go.
Austen. Well, this is an exciting play. We are just
Yes.
so honored to meet you and to talk to you about it.
Very nice to meet you.
And I think it's going to
You
be
guys too.
a really fun play. And so for all those couples out there that the one person doesn't want to see this particular show, you're here to say that
That's right.
it's still a very good show, so go see
Oh my gosh, it's romantic comedy. There's something for everyone. I mean, I was thinking today about Edward Ferrars, the character of Edward Ferrars, who is the love interest of Eleanor Dashwood, and just how painfully awkward he is, and how relatable that is. He's constantly interrupting himself to try and say the right thing, and always failing epically. And I think that he's such a guy that he's kind of flabbergasted at his own heart, and doesn't know how to talk to girls.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that if there are reluctant spouses out there, men in particular, who don't want to go to the theater, there you can see yourself in that. You will see yourself in them. Yeah. That's what good stories always do, and good theater always does, is you can see a reflection of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
In the journeys of these characters. And I think that's wonderful. And Jane Austen is an incomparable storyteller. And we're lucky to have her be kind of working in her lineage.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what an honor it is to talk to you about this, and all the things that you do there at the Johnny Carson School of Theater and Film, and all the lucky students who get to learn from you. I think that's fantastic.
I don't know that they would agree. Maybe a couple of them would.
Well, I think it'd be
But
great.
I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for talking with us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you
Absolutely,
very much.
my pleasure.
Thank you for listening and supporting the arts in the Platte River area and beyond. Please subscribe to our podcast so you are sure to catch all of our future episodes, and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. See you next time on the Platte River Bard.